Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Stoffel, our UMN Medical Director for Lab Informatics, and it is my great pleasure today to introduce our invited guest, Dr. Mustafa Yousif from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Dr. Mustafa Yousif, he's an assistant professor of informatics, and he is the clinical director of digital pathology at Michigan. He earned his medical degree from the University of al-Mustafa in Baghdad, Iraq, and then he completed his AP/CP residency at Wake Forest in North Carolina, a fellowship in gyne and breast pathology at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and then a fellowship in pathology informatics at the University of Michigan's Department of Pathology Informatics, where he still is. Dr. Yousif possesses extensive knowledge and a keen interest in pathology informatics and digital pathology. His research primarily focuses on digital pathology and AI, with a particular emphasis on computer vision and image analysis, in addition to his work in gyne and breast pathology. He's a very active contributor to international dialogues and presentations in digital pathology and has given numerous presentations at annual Association for Pathology Informatics and Digital Pathology Association meetings, among others, where he shares his passion for digital pathology implementation to educate others. Today, Dr. Yousif is going to give us a practical overview of the University of Michigan's informatics, infrastructure, and governance journey on their way to implementing digital pathology. So we're very excited to learn from his knowledge and experience in this area. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Yousif, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stoffel. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really excited to share our experience with the institution. I'm going to talk about the comprehensive guide to PACS acquisition. PACS is the image viewer system or image management system, if you want to call it, and the vendor evaluation, contracting, etc. I don't have anything to disclose. And the outline today, we're gonna go through what is the pixel pathway, or what is the transforming the glass light to digital, the project scope, the need assessment, how to build the use case, how to build the RFP, how to build also the statement of work, building a steering committee, and digital pathology transformation. At the end, I will share the project with the team. So as you know all, digital pathology is a transforming glass slide into a digital whole slide images. We still use this technology since the 1800, right, for the glass slide. The analog workflow, you're aware of it, is having the glass slide organized in those physical trays of 20 slides. You need to have the personnel to deliver or distribute those physical assets. And sometimes those physical assets might be, distribute only to the trainee at the first time, or only to the shelf, and the trainee has to pick those slides. And then after that has to be shared with the faculty or the pathologist. And then they will review it under light microscope or any other maybe immunofluorescence microscope. And the report will be generated in the lab information system, and then after that will be distributed to the EMR or EHR to share with the clinician and the patients. The digitalization idea is, have those special devices, which is the scanners, to digitize all those slides. You need to have a system to organize those images or digital images, instead of having the personnel to organize those, and distribute it to the right personnel. Also reviewing those in a digital workflow, and the way of reporting is the same through the lab information system as well as the EMR. So prior to developing the RFP, which is request for proposal, there are things really you need to consider, and for example, the scope and your needs. This is the things that I'm going to share with you also, how we build it and how we moved into digital. So first of all, you need to define the scope of your project, confirm the department support, of course, you need to define the product and its funding. You need to identify the primary business owners. This is extremely important. And also, you need to understand the key IT considerations. All these factors are really important for a successful transition from analog to digital, or for any project you want to build. Defining the scope of your project. So, for example, not every institution, they have the same scope. For example, are you want to use, this project for primary diagnosis? Maybe right now the need of that department not for primary diagnosis. Maybe I want to build it for education and training, maybe to help the med school. The other, scope, maybe I want to have some transition. I want to build something right now for tumor boards, for consultation. This is my main priority, and then I will move into primary diagnosis. Some of institutions, they focus on research, so they start, going retrospective and try to build a project for research before the clinical use. Maybe clinical trials as well. And finally, you need to also put into account maybe how can I involve molecular and NGS into this scope or this project. The other thing that's also really important is to have a vision. And I'm only right now sharing our vision when we went into digital. So for example, our vision from leadership, we want to position ourselves as a national leader in development, integration, and advancement of digital and computational pathology. We want also to leverage the infrastructure that already Michigan Medicine has to support our digital pathology operations. And also we want to establish relationships with industry leaders, with multiple vendors, to ensure we stay in the forefront of the technology. And also, before going into digital, one of the things that also we put into account is we wanted to understand the readiness of our department to go into digital. So one of the things that we did is we built a survey, and this survey sent not only to the pathologist, but sent to most of the staff of the institution. That include, clinical, faculty, physician, scientist, trainee, and staff and administrator. And we put multiple questionnaires, and in those questionnaires is we want to understand what are the challenges, for example, to move into digital. This is one of the things that right now I'm sharing with you. One of the questions is like, how would you rate the innovation advantage that driving digitization would bring to your workplace? And we found out that majority of them really has a great agreement that digitization will be advantageous. Now, some of the survey or the point or the questions, they really came back as maybe a little bit, maybe they have some challenges or maybe have some negative points, which, for example, it depends on the history of the transition, not only for digital, but the previous projects that the department has. So you need to acknowledge those. You need to address those challenges and make sure that to give some assurance that this is going to be one of the projects that how we're going to address all these challenges, especially IT challenges. The other thing that also put into account is institutional drivers that really help us to define the product. And from our point of view, we divided it into workflow enhancements, patient safety, and financial gains and enhanced experience. So, for example, the things that for workflow enhancement is to have a faster turnaround time, limited slide handling, of course, expedited urgent diagnoses. So, patient safety, definitely you need reduce mislabeling, damage of those slides, multidisciplinary tumor board, of course. It's really easy to do audit trails, for those. And of course, maybe you have computer-aided diagnosis and the financial gains. Maybe the other thing is employee and trainee recruitment, retention, etc. So these are the things that we put so we can define what is the institutional driver for our institution. The other thing is, before to start, the entire project is identify the key stakeholders and business owners. So, for example, our stakeholders were the hospital admins, the hospital finance, referring clinicians, of course, information services, IT team, and pathologists. While the business owners, those the executive leadership from pathology, project manager, that's extremely important. The pathology informatics, if you already have a department of informatics within your the pathology, so and that divided into pathology IT team, staff, as well as the director of digital pathology and DP manager. And don't forget also to include the lab staff. This is extremely important because, if you need to enhance the quality of the slide or the preparation, etc. So AP supervisor and histology manager. And one of the IT key considerations that you really need to put into account is to understand those considerations and to put into the digital pathology and related strategies. So, for example, how compatible the system that we try to have, or maybe the existing systems right now, our infrastructures. Are we going to integrate this platform with the EMR and the lab information system, or maybe only with the lab information system? What is our strategy from storage? Are we going to have, on-prem, cloud strategy, etc.? Security is extremely important. Redundancy, of course, maybe disaster recovery policy that you have to put into account. What is the support from those vendors? Are those going to be, like 24/7, etc.? Maybe those have multiple tiers according to the, financial support that the department can have. And of course, AI capabilities that your IT team can leverage or integrate within this new platform. The other thing that also we put into account is building business use case. As you all know that right now till this day that we don't have, that we can build for digital, right? But we divided it into like soft economic impact and hard economic impact. From the soft part is the maybe in the future that we're gonna have new CPT codes. Right now we need to put into consideration, and the billing should, hopefully in the future we can start billing for those cases. Cost saving, you have manual slide, search, staff, labor, all of this, case assembly, you might put into account. Cost avoidance from like legal, like request, fees, litigation, etc. And one of the things, maybe AI commercialization or even digitizing those slides to work with multiple vendors. From hard economics is you want to improve the faculty. For us, this is what we provided. We improve faculty efficiency in terms maybe you have a faster turnaround time. Definitely in the beginning, you're going to really have some slowness because it's a learning curve. But eventually, you can take into account all the glass distribution, asset assessment, or assembly, all of those. Maybe you can take it out of this workflow, and then one of the things that the faculty and trainee can review those cases at the same time. Improved efficiency, same thing, reduce shipping costs. Faculty recruitment and retention, for example, working from home, or right now we have really a successful rate with the residencies recruitment because everyone is excited to go to a department that's already digitized. And of course, increase case volume for have a new revenues or new businesses. This is just to show a projected saving goal, for the business use case. So what are those return on investment opportunities? For example, we shared that this is the growth for the next 10 years from faculty, slide runners, admin, and accessioner. We didn't even put into account the CPT codes, for example, right? Because it's not existed at that time. And one of the things that we show also that the digital flow reduces incremental FTEs required for continuous growth. For example, you might just have to retain the faculty and the staff, and you might not need to have incremental growth because hopefully the digital pathology is going to be more efficient. The other thing that's also helped us, we wrote the executive summary and proposal, and as you see the date, we wrote this one, multiple years ago, and we addressed multiple things that I'm going to share with you, and we directed this summary and proposal to the executive leadership from the department as well as the institution, because you need to have this. For us, like for Michigan, we need to have an approval first before we go to start having the formal RFP. So one of the things that we put in the executive summary is the SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis is we show the strength of the department. For example, we have unparalleled culture of commitment to patient care, world-class informatics in the department, but we also show some weakness. One of the weakness is, as you all know, we have maybe some resistance to change. This is normal because it's a new technology, so we need to address this. One of the really great opportunities is leverage Michigan medicine pathology expertise, branding for new portfolio, especially for anatomical pathology and NGS services. And then we also address some threats. For example, we have many peers like Mayo Clinic, MSK, etc., Ohio State that already went into digital. So right now we have to go into digital to make sure that we are in compliance with our peers as well. So SWOT analysis was really important for us and was really helpful. The other thing, we show the benefits from going digital, from patient safety, employee satisfaction, workflow enhancement, as well as the service quality. But we also shows that, from hospital level benefits. So one of the benefits, for example, is more efficient multidisciplinary tumor board, enhancing communication between pathologists and physicians. I can tell you, like, literally right now, when we get page or some clinician call us, we can literally give an answer within a minute. Previously, we have to pull the slide, we have to search for those, especially if those are archived, so it might take maybe a day or so to get back to them. The clinicians right now truly appreciate the really advanced multidisciplinary tumor board. They really appreciate that we put, there's a patient attached to this image, the quality of the image when we share it through whole slide images versus sharing a camera and slide microscopy. Same thing also, collaboration, research between clinician and pathologist, and making also patient image access in the future. We're not doing it right now, but this is one of the opportunities that you can give, for example, gallery to the patient, just like radiology. The other things that we also put in the proposal, the turnaround time, for example, we show that what is our current state and what is the digital transformation, and definitely we show some publication that you will have some cut in the turnaround time. The other things also that we showed that the consultation, for example, right now at this moment that we received multiple, we receive all the glass slide from external consultation, and we have cases for true consultation and cases for transfer of care for those patients, and this is going to take really an ample amount of time, to open the package, assignment, distribution, until the case is signed out. This is just a proposal, and we showed that you might be able to cut this turnaround time, especially, for example, if there's an institution that is going to, to be a digital. One of the threats also that we put into account, that what's going to happen for those clients that they're going to go digital before us. So we need to be ready and make sure that we already have a digital solution that we can leverage and our faculty able to review digital cases and sign out those cases digitally. One of the area also we showed is the revenue growth opportunities. For example, I'm sharing with you this screenshot from radiology department in Michigan Medicine. They have like more than 60 external locations, even just this is within Michigan State, that we might have this opportunity to leverage those already established connection with those clients, that and we can have a digitized solution or maybe received digital images in the future when they are going digital. And some of them right now, a couple of them, they already reached out because they want to go digital, and we're trying to do this connection between or interface between our department as well as their department to receive those consultation cases. And finally, the things that also we put in the proposal is service rollout. We show a plan that, we're not gonna go fully digital with every single service. We show a plan of maybe we're gonna start with the services that their faculty, they are really enthusiastic to go fully digital. The services, maybe they work in multiple hospitals, and digitization will help them a lot by decreasing the turnaround time. Maybe the services, the small services that we can leverage or we can focus on to have a successful transition, and then after that we're gonna focus on the cases that's more complex, have more faculty involved, and show it to the department. So this is another thing that just to give some, things to the department or to the leadership to let them know about the rollout phases. We put also into account, that we're gonna have super users that they're gonna help us to build those services to go digital. And after that, we went and we created the request for information. So this is even another step before going to RFP. So request for information is a process can be initiated when there are, like, for example, numerous vendors to consider, or when you need some kind of preliminary needs. Usually, the information that you ask in the RFI is the vendor name, what is the digital pathology solution, what is the main contact, and the address. Things that are going to help you is another, as I said, it's a simplified version. It's going to help you to maybe eliminate some of the vendors that you don't need to send a formal RFP to them. It's going to give you an idea about the cost of the solution, and literally based on this RFI, you can go ahead and create the RFP. Okay. So the process of the RFP is literally straightforward. The things you need to know is, what is the RFP? It's an invitation to vendors, often through a bidding process, to submit detailed proposal on their product and services in response to a specific stated requirement. You need to put into account, typically it's a long process. It takes from 6 to 12 months. For us, it took around like 8 to 9 months to have an entire RFP completed. Also, implementation is really crucial to have the RFP process early before you go, for example, the approval for implementation and start the process. There are multiple components for the RFP. For example, writing a proposal that's going to outline functional, performance, and technical requirement. You need to have a dedicated person as a primary point of contact. Make sure that the contact procurement office, for example, this is for Michigan Medicine, that we have only the contact procurement office complete those RFP as submitted to those forms. It depends on other institution, maybe different department, they used this format. So scoring methodology is extremely important. That's gonna score the clinical assessment, the technical assessment. You need to have some ranking criteria. Finally, also one of the things that you need to put the SOW or statement of work is summarize all the key component milestones and the critical success factors for it. You need also to put contracting information assurance review and beginning the contract. And then finally, after the contract, you need to have the business owners, they can start working with the vendor. As a policy for us, for example, for Michigan Medicine, any business owners or anyone from our department, when we started the RFP, they cannot go and contact any of those vendors. Without the procurement team, for example, they go direct. And what's happening, sometimes you go to SCAP, you go to different, conferences, and then maybe by mistake, one of the faculty you're really interested and go to those vendors and say, oh yeah, by the way, we're trying to have we are having an RFP and we're doing this and this, but for some reason maybe that vendor was not involved in our criteria, so we did not even invite them. But because someone reached out to them from our department, right now we are obliged to go and include that vendor in our evaluation. And it's really happening. I mean, it's happening because you have to make sure when you communicate with the department, you have a straight communication department that once the RFP started, it's only procurement team that they have to contact the vendors and moving forward. After they sign the contract, everything is fine. So writing the proposal is you need to have invitation, as we said, plan procurement scheduled about all the dates about the RFP. Give a background about the institution and also about the department. They really appreciate this, so they can know how to build your platform on what is your needs. Some of them, once we give them this background and on the department and what is the requirement of the scope, they really drop. They say, no, this is not for us, and maybe this is we are not intended to do, for example, this to leverage this amount of scanning or this advanced way. Maybe it's a small, maybe it's we already built the platform only for research and education, and we don't have a platform for primary diagnosis. So it depends. The other thing is also the current and desired future pathology system. We put also when we wrote the proposal. We gave some clinical, educational, research, and technical principles on our vision. We gave also the requirements and specification, and that was handled by the procurement team. And we provide all the support documents that they need for those vendors. After that, we started, to have responses and vendor selection. So the first thing that we have is, assessment planning to determine how the RFP will be assessed, how will be involved in who will be involved in the assessment. The things that we did, is the RFP Q&A period. So this period, we wrote all these questions and we send it to the vendor. The vendor also sometimes they write back questions according to the proposal that we wrote. So maybe they need some type of clarifications. After the agreement or the selection of the vendors that we need to invite to have a vendor presentation, we scheduled multiple meetings. Make sure those meetings, not in the, period of maybe holidays or maybe really, like for example, we have a college football seasons or things that, you want to avoid, or maybe conferences like SCAP. We never schedule those in the SCAP, DPA, Summit, etc. because you want everyone focus on those clinical presentation or technical presentation as well. After that, you need to have criteria to do evaluation from clinical, technical, and then ranking criteria and weighing criteria. Finally, After the selection, you'll start having this is called a preliminary selection. After we decide, after the criteria, reached out, we reach out to the vendor and give them this is a preliminary selection before contracting, because you need to have some, the SOW, scope of work, to work on that. Then after that, you will do contracting. This is the formal way of ranking the vendors. This is a sample we shared with you right now of literally hundreds of questions that we had from technical and clinical. But I tried to share with you. We put some weighing criteria met, criteria partial met, criteria not met, and then we put a weighing criteria about what is the importance of the criteria that we need, and multiple vendors that you can rank them. After the rank, you can find, the what is the upper vendor and the lower according to their rank. So the things that we also focus on, you need to have, like, most important thing for us was the interoperative consultation support. That's extremely important. So we put it, we need this support. What is the functionality and the workflow of the system? Definitely you need to ask about quality reference sites. This is extremely important. We went to literally after we had presentation from them, we visited multiple sites that those vendors already providing clinical workflow over there, or even we reached out to them through remotely. Things that also we did, we visited some headquarters of those vendors as well. We ask about, for example, from digital pathology, what is the format they can provide, whether they have third-party interoperability and integration. The things that also we ask about, what is their support, how their response to the RFP. Are they really good response and they communicate with the procurement, or we struggle to get an answer from them? We also put into account and we put in the criteria. Whether they have even a teaching or research module. I know that right now we were focusing on clinical practice, but this is not going to hurt off if they have this, because if they're not going to provide it to you, then maybe they're not going to put it in the contract. And what is the timeline, project timeline and management, and whether they're going to provide, for example, a project manager, and etc. Things that you really, really, really need to write into contract. For example, the things that we put into contract from our end, we said we cannot work with any vendor that they're not going to provide a standard format, for example, DICOM format in pathology. In case, even if you don't have DICOM format at this moment, maybe we can work together with you and give us, a timeline when the format this is going to be acceptable to have it in your system. And after that date, promising date that they, for example, tell you, anything after that, you have to put in contract that if I'm going to have proprietary images that I have to, implement, or after this point of time, then all the migration has to be covered by this vendor because they didn't meet criteria, and we literally put it into account and in the contracting. The statement of work after that is really, really, really helpful, because it's giving you, the methodology, the milestones about the entire project and how many phases, what is the future state. It doesn't have, just make sure that, you have the vision to put it into account, and it helped us a lot, because right now, for example, in phase 1 and phase 2, we were focusing on going digital, while in phase 3, we were focusing on maybe implementing third-party AI solution or quantitative image analysis, and we just put it into account. Even if right now you don't have the exact vendor that you're gonna communicate, or you're gonna have it, that for that image analysis or AI, you put that, maybe you give selection of 3 vendors, that this is the vendors that we're gonna go and work with them in the future, for example, and help us a lot. Roles and responsibilities, I'm gonna share with you also this what's called RACI chart, why it's really important. You need to have kind of really clear delineation between the roles from both the image management system or PACS vendor as well as your team. Deployment and processing of the routine, make sure that you have a way of, escalations, things, risks, and a great way of communications. Project deliverables, that's from both ends, from your department end and from the vendor end. Make sure that, and this is one of the milestones. And again, this is billing and hours, all this we wrote before even contracting. So because every end of phase or stage, we literally calculate all these hours and the billing, and we work with the procurement team to see if we are like over budget, under budget, or we met the criteria. Finally, you have the governing contract and supplement documents that you need to provide. So scope of work is an extremely important document that help you a lot in the entire project transition. And this is the RACI chart, which is, it is who's responsible from R on, completing those tasks, who is accountable to ensure that these tasks are completed, and then from C, who's like, just need to be consulted or communicated, and the other one is the informed person to be updated about the entire project. And multiple roles, as you see, from super users, executive committees, project managers, and these are the activities from their responsibilities. As I said, you really need to have a clear delineation between the roles for those and who's accountable. I will go into details about the steering committee, but for example, from both ends, you have to make sure that project, manager, the vendor, as well as the customer, you need to have also 2 project managers to work together and multiple departments or systems to work together. So after the contract is signed, what is the next step? The next step is you really need to identify the steering committee. The steering committee is extremely important, and their primary function of the steering committee is to take responsibility for the feasibility, business case, and the achievement of the outcome of the digital pathology transforming project. They usually monitor the project status reports at regular meetings and provide guidance when required. They control project scope as emergent issues, forces any changes to be considered, ensuring that scope aligns with the agreement, with the agreed business requirement, and you can avoid what's called scope creep anytime. And it's happened multiple times with us, and the project managers like, okay, this wasn't even put into account when we wrote the SOW or when we built the project. Resolve any conflicts or disputes, also reconciling differences of opinion and approach, formal acceptance of the project deliverables. So this is really, really important. The other thing, sorry, okay. And what I'm sharing with you right now is, from our side in Michigan Medicine, these are the pathology steering committee members. That include the chair, the director of the pathology informatics, the clinical director of DigPath, the anatomic pathology, IT team, ACMIL from radiology, because ours is enterprise imaging. So that includes even not only pathology, but radiology, cardiology, and other ologies. The project manager, the IT project manager, the vice chair of the quality and department pathology, and director of operation, as I said, from the histolab. So those the members that we included in our steering committee. And literally, we've been meeting almost every week on Wednesday for the last 2 years to communicate about the project and the workflow. As I said, this is the roles that I was trying to share with you. and why it's really important of having the steering committee. After having a steering committee, now the project is started. So all these, important factors that's extremely important for successful transition into digital. So, as I said, the contract, for example, I'm sharing with you that completed and the PACS vendor selected at this time. And then we start the entire right now from IT approval, budget approval, hardware procurement, system integration, until we went digital live the last year in July. The things that you really need to put into consideration, or the challenges that we also witness after we went, after the RFP completion and we signed the contract, is hardware and facility renovation. We need to put into account, for example, how many scanners of those high throughput scanners, whether you have whole mount in your workflow or immunofluorescence, or maybe frozen section, whether are you gonna start scanning all those slides, whether you need to find a place to put all those scanners, and where you're gonna put those scanners. The other thing is from software regarding PACS is the licensing fees, maintenance fees, whether they're gonna charge for multiple as services like diagnostic research, education, etc., and the AI integration. Storage, as I said, is going to be on-premise, cloud storage, short versus long-term archiving, the tiers of support. So I'll share with you one of the things that the challenges also from financial burden. When we created the 10 years plan about the transition, the billing came back for storage about $39 million for 20 petabytes on-prem. And that was a really insane amount of budget for just storage. This is nothing other than storage. So we decided we do not need to have this amount of petabytes of to go live at this moment. All what we need right now maybe 2 petabytes, right, to start the project. And then we build another plan of what is our strategic plan of moving into the cloud, and what is our short-term archiving, long-term archiving, and then after that, we do not purge any single image. The plan is moving into cloud after long-term archiving, because we know that is going to be somewhat called, egress fees to retrieve those slides, but mainly those slides going to be retrieved for research, and we can put into account for those budgets. IT services, as I said, integration with how many systems, whether you need an interface engine between your lab information system and the PACS, which is picture archiving communication system, AI integration through third-party API, if they have it or not. So there is a lot of things you need to consider. Hiring is extremely important in case if you don't have project manager. Some of you maybe don't even have a DP manager that you need to hire. Scanning technicians as well. We put into account the number of staff that we need to run this slide, and the PACS administrator. This is a separate from the project manager or the DP operation manager, because this is only gonna work in that image management system to focus on QC, case assignment, etc. The things also we put into account is the infrastructure. And this has helped us a lot, because we want to make sure that what resources we have, how can we leverage our infrastructure or existing infrastructure to move into fully digital, and how can we build right now the future workflow. So from the PAC system, we make sure that we really need to interface within the lab information system. What are those criteria from all these HL7 messages that we need to receive from the LIS to have seamless integration? Definitely, we make sure that the quality of the barcode labels and everything is really pristine, because otherwise you're going to struggle of picking those slides, and what is going to end up with all these slides that may be scanned, but we couldn't have matched all the barcode criteria with the lab information system. The other thing is whether the VNA or the storage system is different from the pack system. Sometimes you might struggle because this is provided from different vendor than the pack system. Then there is a way of interface. Then this you need to put into account. What is the viewing workstations, as well as the third-party API. So all these from the pixel pathway are extremely important to help moving into successful transition. The challenges we witness we put into account is the number of scanners that we need in order not to increase the turnaround time of delivering the slides. What I'm sharing with you right now, this is on hourly based. Our lab is 24/7 or 24/6 generating the slides. We don't have batches. So, for example, right now, what I'm showing to you, those bars are per hour slide distribution, the number of slide distribution. And we did a study about, what is the number of scanners that we need in order to accomplish having kind of zero turnaround time or not increase the turnaround time. So what I'm sharing with you, if I have, for example, our lab have 5 scanners by 3 p.m. on that day, you might have more than 300 slides still need to be scanned. While on the same time, if you have 8 or 7 scanners, you see like you have less than 50 slides that you need to scan and distribute digitally. So this is extremely important to have the number of slides or number of scanners. So the other thing we put into account, what is the distribution of those slides? So we can distribute also our staff when we need to focus. For example, we heavily focus in the morning to have more staff versus overnight or evening shift. Maybe we have one staff to cover the workflow. Lab renovation, we also study like what is the best way to renovate the lab or where should we put. And here what I'm sharing with you is the pre-digital versus the digital layout. Our scanners, the stainers were in the center of the wet lab. And then when we move into digital, we made the scanner in the center of the lab to have a seamless, workflow. And this really helped us, the scan tech to pick the slide direct from the stainers, distribute it to the scanners, and then have a seamless workflow to distribute it back to the back counter. This has really reduced the cost to renovate because we only need to make some benches within our lab. And also we have more space right now to have more maybe new cutting workstation. So overall was really efficient, clean workflow to have it within our wet lab histology. This is I'm sharing with you the before all these benches, like we created a space. And then after that, as you see, these are the benches when we build all these scanners for multiple scanning purposes. For high throughput, bright field, H&E, Z-stacking frozen section, as well as polarization, direct immunofluorescence, etc. We also, as I said, we put into account that a labor plan of 24/7 labor plan, have multiple FTEs to manage, multiple dashboards to help us have an efficient workflow. When are those slides ready to be picked from the stainers and distributed, and which scanner right now is available to be loaded, for example. From ergonomics, also, we put into account the mock and sign out design. So we built a mock-up area right now in the center of the multi-headed microscope. So this is the area direct to the wet lab. We have over 10 rooms of the multiple multi-headed sign-out rooms for different services. And this is the pre-digital workflow. You have multiple microscopes as well as the screens to sign out digitally. So in the beginning, we said we're just gonna put something here and then we're gonna call it a day. However, that was really not ergonomics. Everyone is like, pushing the chairs, have to look really high. So we decided to, just like what we utilize right now, the microscope, we're going to utilize multiple displays synchronized to one display, and whatever the faculty is reviewing, all those are synchronized to have an ergonomic workflow. We also put into account the faculty offices layout, those faculty that they don't have services or maybe console to sign out downstairs for those multi-headed display. We renovate their workstations to have it kind of seamless workflow. So this is a display for the faculty, the opposite display for the trainee, just like they share the microscope. We put into account the trainee's desk as well, and multiple platforms or proposals because not all those offices are the same. So critical success factor, you really need to have clear description for the current and desired workflow. Active support leadership, extremely important. Excellent project manager, really need to have a mature IT group and active communication. I can't emphasize how really this is important between your colleagues and leadership. Take home point, digital pathology is really, as I said, transforming glassline into digital. Prior to develop RFP, consider the scope and your needs. Institutional drive are extremely important. The RFP is a systematic methodology to evaluate multiple vendors. The process of the RFP can start with the RFI, and the project steering committee ensure business objectives are being adequately addressed are extremely important to make the project under control. With that, thank you so much for listening, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yousif. If there's any questions, can folks put them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask? And I can. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mingzhang.
Okay, sorry.
No,
yeah. So I don't have any questions, but I just want to have one comment. Thanks, Dr. Yousif. This is really comprehensive. Not only give the digital pathology practice, but also your background, the information you give to us, share with us, is also almost like a universal template for any project. I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, especially for our trainees. I think, in informatics, we work with vendors across, different informatics or pathology services and lab services. And this approach to RFP and stakeholder engagement can be applied to any, especially large project. So much appreciated. Looks like we have a question from Dr. Gatewood in terms of asking about the interaction with radiology and the PACS group, and you kind of referenced that, but would you be able to describe a little more how you interacted with them?
Yeah, definitely. So this is one of the successful factor for us also. It's really, we cut the project transition about 18 months. I'm not exaggerated, because the infrastructure are already there. All what we need, to leverage more servers, more integration, to have a pathology within the enterprise workflow. So that was an extremely, really successful factor for us. So we utilize the PACS, or Picture Archival Communication System, or the Image Management System in pathology, they call it, and that we are using the same as radiology. So radiology is using the same platform, but we have to leverage more servers. So, and the interaction, sometimes you have this fear that who's going to be in control, For us, literally right now, it's even help us a lot, because right now what we have a CEI, or Clinical Enterprise Committee for Imaging. And right now we are once you are within the institution, things that may be even easy to happen, because, for requesting maybe extra storage, or maybe spend more servers, because we are within the institution, and because of the, right now, the importance that, radiology, pathology, and cardiology want this platform, so the institution will, look into it. It's like, this is not only pathology or not only radiology. So the integration was really, really, really successful from both ends.
Thanks. It looks like Dr. Crossan has a question.
Yeah, Dr. Yousif, thank you so much for that presentation. I just have a very simple question. You alluded to the fact that that you need to be alert to problems with barcoding, and could you expand a little bit on problems that might arise with barcodes, and how do you pick those up?
That is an amazing question. So, barcodes, right? So, as you know, right now, the only way from those scanners to or the image management system to link those cases to have some identifier or slide identifier for that image to link it to the entire case. So the way right now we have a barcode value that is really located on that slide and link it to the entire case. Sometimes, as you know, you have a thermal printer or maybe laser printer for those labels, and not everything is really like pristine, or sometimes you might need to change the ribbon. So maybe you have an issue with barcode failure of the scanner, maybe not be able to read the barcode. So what is the next step? This is the things that we need to ask, for example, the PACS. What's going to happen for those images? So for us, we build what's called a repository workflow work list, when we call it a missing LIS or missing lab information images, that we cannot link it to any of the cases that we have in the PACS. And then that's why when the PACS admins, they already, like on the hourly basis, they review those images to see where are those images residing. Because in the digital image, what you have a macro image and a label image. So you can read the accession number, and we have a strict criteria of 2 personnel. Make sure to read those when we reassign them manually and documenting it. And so we can go to the leadership. Maybe now we have data to provide to the leadership to say, maybe we need a laser printer, a better printer to have a better quality for those for those barcodes to be read and to assign to the right case.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. And I have one more brief question. I know, and folks may need to start dropping off for the next meeting, but just I'm just curious. You referenced needing to accommodate the expectation for coming AI, and I'm curious like how your project ended up accommodating that, especially in terms of interaction with like the larger enterprise system.
Right. Yeah. So this is one of the things that right now we're still the AI and pathology is still kind of it's not mature yet. But one way we thought about it, we did not focus on AI from the beginning because we really need the faculty and the trainee and everyone to get involved to learn the system and make sure they are comfortable signing out digitally. And we need them. They come back to us to say, I need the solution. I went to the SCAP and I found this solution that maybe can have a tissue micrometastasis that I want this solution for me because right now they have this experience in digital, right? So this is one of the things. But what we leverage within our PACS, they have what's called a third-party API application that can communicate with any AI solution. And from that AI solution, they're gonna, the faculty will never go to that AI solution. The faculty will just receive the annotations that is generated from that AI. So I wanted to focus, the most important thing for me, I want my faculty and the trainee focus in one platform, not multiple clicks. They just receive the results, and the results has to be ingested in that PACS to display it in more efficient way.
I think that's a very wise approach. And I know we're at time. Thank you so much again for this really wonderful presentation. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person in May. And we really greatly appreciate it. And we're following Michigan's success.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Stoffel. Thank you for inviting me. Have a good day.